No one has to say why this place is special. It just is. There are just a handful of places that are household names with a relation to motorsports, and this track is one of them. It's a place so rich in history that the town around it was named after it. With great pleasure, we welcome all to Speedway, Indiana, and to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the season finale of the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. 115 years ago, this circuit was laid brick by brick, and in the century that followed, some of racing's greatest stories took place here. The road course that runs within the 2.5-mile oval is a little newer, but since the SRO began running here in 2020, a new history is being laid brick by brick with the running of the Indianapolis 8-hour. We're 2 weeks out from the 5th running of the American round of the Intercontinental GT Challenge and from the finale of this year's Toyota GR Cup North America. It doesn't matter what you drive or what month you run, Indianapolis is a crowning achievement for any racer, even in iRacing. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Indy and the Brickyard. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Justin Prince for the last race of the season in iRacing for this Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. Justin, welcome. So excited to get this underway.
It'll be an exciting day, especially with it being essentially the crowning moment for drivers like Michael Polasek. Today is going to be an exciting one to see how drivers are able to fare at such a prestigious and historic circuit, especially when it comes to the opportunities to make passes today, but better yet, the opportunity to finish out this campaign strong.
Yeah, certainly this championship has been a fierce one. Michael Polasek and Michael Yanni all season long battling tooth and nail. And it came down to Barber a couple of weeks ago where Michael Polasek was able to clinch the title, Justin. So the championship is already claimed and the $2,500 prize for winning is already Polasek's. But he's still here racing today and Yanni is not present. So that $1,500 prize for finishing second is still being very hotly contested amongst those second and third in the points.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for drivers to be able to leapfrog as a result. That coming in the past little while, in fact, with Yanni. You have Andre Castro that has a chance to maybe leapfrog with a great day today if he's able to pull ahead of Polasek. Paul Darling's also in that conversation. Those two really have a good contesting shot to take away that second spot. But also, keep in mind, they're still battling for third themselves with that 1 point difference. Jason Landry in that top 5 also might be able to sneak away with the spot if either of those drivers have a rough day and Darling has a very Darling-like day.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on all those drivers as they battle for second position in this championship. Let's have a look at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the Continental Track preview. 14 corners, about 2.3 miles, or 2.4 miles around, rather. It's a flat circuit, Justin, but it has a lot of street course tendencies, a lot of stop and start with some flowing corners in between.
Yeah, that stop and start really begins in that opening sector, right, with the opening corners flowing on into the infield. But that run down Homan Boulevard is going to be one of your best opportunities to pick up draft today up to turn 7 before going back to those stop and start sort of corners 9 all the way through 10 before you reach the speedway portion for a moment. Cut back in towards what's turn 1 for the speedway before you're back on the track itself today. Lots of opportunities for these drivers to maybe set up some passes with some draft, especially down the straightaways.
And here is our weapon of choice for the season, as it has been for the last 2 years in Toyota GR Cup North America and here in iRacing, the Toyota GR86 Cup car. Alcon brakes, Continental slick tires, Sadev 6-speed sequential transmission, and some Toyota Gazoo Racing aerodynamics. And we've also got some Segra 3D printed components. Justin, I had a chance to sit in one of these cars a couple of weeks ago, and all those little Segra bits and pieces really finish off this car. It's a beautiful race car, well represented here in iRacing, and it's been a joy to drive this season.
It's been a joy to watch as well as they've raced with these cars, especially utilizing all those Alcon brakes to be able to lunge their way into corners, right? So at the moment, it's going to be an interesting time to see how they fare out, working their way through that transmission and working their way through the gears here at the Brickyard.
Well, it's time to head down to qualifying now. It is already underway. Slightly smaller field than we've had most of the season as we get closer to the end of the year. This is the last round of the championship, and with the title already decided, it is a small but dedicated crowd here today. And man, Justin, this is going to be fun to watch. We've had some new names poke their way up into the mix in practice earlier. Andre Castro, I know he's not new to the front of the field, but he was one of the quickest drivers in practice and absolutely one to watch in that number 34.
He needs to have a good day today, to say the very least, with the point standings, right? So it's not a surprise to see him take a big leap and be able to showcase speed in the Team ERA machine. seems to be trying to work things together with some of the other dead zone cars like Matt Adams, along with Nate Stewart here, just working on draft packs. And it's been made clear, we've seen already with the pit exit, these drivers don't want to be that lead car because of the potential of that big toe down areas like the Holman Boulevard.
Yeah, it's interesting to note here about the lap time so far. Most drivers have only recorded 1 or 2 laps, but we are within a 1/10 of a second of the real-world best lap time. It was a 1:31.1 set by Paul Bocuse last year in qualifying 1 of the weekend at our Indianapolis round. So at a 1:39.233, we're just off of that. That's how close the times are in the sim and the real world. So Castro sits 6th right now. There's a couple other drivers that were really impressive in the practice speeds. Very slow on Holman Boulevard, getting set up to go racing. And one of them was Jordan Rick Segrini, a real-world competitor. He'll be there in 2 weeks' time competing in the BSI Racing 18, and he's also getting set to go for a better qualifying effort.
Yeah, he's 8/10 off the pole right now. I think he's got a lot more than what he showcased so far. But as you can tell with the Q, everybody's basically just making sure they have their tires up to temperature, because when you have to push, you better push fast. And it looks like at this point, Castro preferring to be the lead car for now, working with his teammate Chris Wentz, go from there and then maybe get a toe off Nicholas Sudik.
So through turns 13 and 14, even in these GR86s, that make about 230 horsepower. You're pretty much on the limit leaving turn 14, back up onto the racetrack here, down the straightaway. Castro's going to pull to the side. See Chris Wentz, his teammate's going to go by in that 71 machine. Across the yard of bricks and down towards the first corner. Wetz is out of the way now as well. This is all the game of qualifying. Nate Stewart motors by the front straightaway here, and 17 minutes to go in qualifying, and nobody wants to give anybody an advantage.
Yeah, it's like you go on the racetrack, start to showcase your hand of, okay, maybe I'm pushing. Nope, I don't like this lap. Let's roll into the pit. It's the games of qualifying, right? When it comes to, especially at iRacing, it's about finding that extra 100, that extra millisecond, that extra 100,000th of a second. If you want to be able to start up front, track position we've already seen in this series is paramount to be in the lead pack. If you're not in the lead pack to start, we've seen how difficult it is to get to the lead pack all season long, and that's not going to be the surprise. See a big case here to end off the season here at the Brickyard.
And qualifying has been one of the most important sessions all season long. That's been true of the real world as well. We've seen some games be played there as drivers just try to find every last advantage, and often the teams working together. In some cases, teammates breaking off from the rest of their team because they don't want to be hampered by any accordion effect or things of the sort. I think we're seeing something similar now. Nate Stewart charging into turn 12 and overtaking opportunities. There are a couple of them, Justin, notably turns 1, 7, and 12. Those are really your point and shoot corners, heavy braking zones. You've got ABS in this car, you're going to use it, and downshifting through that setup box.
Yeah, just about 90 degree. In fact, they believe are 90 degree turns when you think about it, just a little bit more smoother than, say, just a street corner. But those are going to be where we see some of the big lunges, absolutely, I think, especially maybe into turn 7 more so at times, where we're going to see people be brave, have to be brave if they want to leapfrog through the field. And for this type of a race, being brave might be one of the critical parts of doing well in the end if you want to be able to take some of these positions over the course of an hour.
Been a chess match here in qualifying as drivers pull off. If they don't feel like they're going to improve their lap times here. And it's a nice sunny day. We're not anticipating any weather this time. We had a couple of rounds that had the threat of some rain. And of course, we had the round at Virginia International Raceway, which was a complete downpour. And that was very stressful for everybody involved. So they're looking at the blue skies and feeling thankful that the weather has cleared here in Indianapolis for at least this virtual weekend. We don't know what the weather will do in the real world come 2 weeks' time from now. But it will bring the end of a second successful season for the Toyota GR Cup North America Series. Of course, Gresham Wagner also wrapped up the championship at Barber, just like Michael Polasek did here. Sometimes life imitates art. Justin, that happened a week after Polasek did his.
Yeah, exactly. And for Polasek, he's been the outright dominant force for much of this season. And again, it's not a surprise for anyone who follows the sim racing scene. When it comes to this type of racing, he's been your gold star style driver who can lead a team, no matter the organization, into the promised land of a championship because of how smooth he is, how tactile he is, how smart he is when it comes to his moves in these types of races. And for Polasek, winning the championship last time out kind of emphasizes just how difficult he is to be able to beat time in and time out of these style of races.
And it took him a round or two to sort things out. 7th at Sonoma, then 2nd at Sebring, not so bad there, and then 4 straight wins. And if you want to talk dominance, that is how you do it. You just rack them up and stack them up in the wins column. And if he could finish off with 5, he won the championship at Barber, as we mentioned. But I think, even he in his interview said, I'm going to be at Indy. I still want to win some races. And maybe the goal's different now that I can just focus out the windshield and not have to worry about the big picture. But big picture and wins came to the 45 G-Force car this season.
And it looks like at this point, Logan McKenzie tried to pick up the draft again off him. Didn't get too much luck there. A lot of these drivers only giving it about a lap, if that, with how the tires seem to be working, maybe. But right now, you have to wonder, is anybody going to be able to get a little bit more speed? The track temperature itself, about 94 Fahrenheit at the moment, is not too bad. It's not that hot right now, but for these drivers, they have not been able to challenge that 139.232 in a little while, as more people seem to be excursioning to the dirt.
Yeah, it's Ben Blaustein going to go for a slide, just leaving this 3rd corner here just a little bit too wide, and he just got onto the grass over the rumble strips and into the gravel. That's a mistake that will take you out of a battle here. You talked about how important qualifying is and how much it matters to start up front, and you have to stay there. Any mistakes, any missteps in that opening sector on the first lap are going to put you down the order. How close is it for the lead right now? 5 1/1000ths of a second between the top 2, 38 1/1000ths across the top 3, 67 1/1000ths across the top 4 with John Lausen in that 4th spot. It is incredibly close right now at the top of the order.
Yeah, again, that's where those razor's edge differences are coming into play and why so many people are essentially piling out of their qualifying runs, not liking what they're seeing, because they're not seeing those gains to get to the marginal differences up front. Jordan Ricciagrini, he hasn't been able to set a qualified lap since the initial time on the racetrack in the session, but that 140 flat, he needs to be able to try and set something quickly. He's had 3 straight invalidated laps.
I think he's one of the drivers that can battle Polasek and drivers like McKenzie today. In practice, he was showing great pace here, but he's got to stitch it together here in qualifying. He's got the 57 at Townend right off the nose here. In behind him is the number 7 car of Kevin Rold, so he's in a little bit of a traffic sandwich. That could play to his advantage on the straightaways, and the good news for drivers tonight is you're not going to have a lot of aero wash or any kind of aerodynamic problems from cars ahead of you. You're not carrying all that much downforce on the car here. The corners are relatively slow speed, at least in the infield section, save for the chicane. So you can really follow closely, assuming you don't have to jump on the brakes early to avoid them.
And I think that's going to be, again, where some of the packs play out, but also when a qualifying session like this, it's going to be a balancing act, maybe with some of the off-track scene already. Drivers go off in the opening sector. Ricciagrini just about went off in the final sector, the edge of the grass. And laps like this one, only a 139.9, only going to get you a couple spots. That was only a 1/10 of a second difference. And that took about a good 10-15 minutes after his initial lap just to be able to improve on that.
Cameron Martineau, 12th right now in the number 38. Now, he's had a pretty interesting season because it's been hot or not for him. 7th and 6th at COTA and VIR, but also has finishes of 12th and 32nd at Sonoma and Road America. And then he followed it up with a 10th at Barber. But because of the issues at Barber throughout the field, really, we had a number of spins and slides and things there a couple of weeks ago. He gained 3 spots in the championship standings. He's now top 10 there, defending from Wan Shi Lin by just a handful of points. So that number 30 of Wan Shi Lin's out qualifying him. So that's a battle just to finish 10th in the standings.
Every spot matters, right? Every spot for the championship when it comes to pride, when it comes to momentum. There's a lot that can be said. There's an opportunity, I think, especially for Ethan, because Ethan Lampe's been in that spot for a while from his start. He's misfit several races. it's an opportunity for drivers like Martineau to maybe get in the edge of that top 8 for a run today, for example. Others like Lynn, based on the point margins, has an opportunity as well. We've seen Lynn do very well in the battle packs throughout around 8th position in the last few races.
Look on board Ken House-Seal. He's got the virtual reality goggles on at the moment. Always love this because it gives you the perspective of what the driver is seeing, which in the real world isn't much, but in the sim world, he's got all of the surroundings in 3 dimensions so he can really place the car accurately. And this is something I talked to Lucas Weisenberg about on SRO Pit Pass a couple of days ago on the SRO Motorsports Twitch channel, about how do you place the car when you're being so aggressive. It's so easy just to slip out of line and make a mistake. You see that little wiggle there. But if you are in tune with the race car, you've got your eyes trained ahead, way up the road, you've got that that best sensor you've got, that seat of the pants feel, you can really dial this thing in. Look at how light he is through the steering wheel there. Just neutral steer with this lightweight, low center of gravity car, and Ken House-Seal's on a mission right now.
They're not afraid to attack some of those curves and really aggressively right over top of them, in fact, some of these drivers, to the point where it's launching them just about off the ground. But House-Seal also, you can see just how much he's having to put the brake force in, with how hard you have to stop in these low speed corners. It's very physical with how he's got this set up for his rig to be able to get around this racetrack.
One car way out wide there in the runoff area. That's obviously out of bounds, but just trying to get out of the way perhaps as Ken now approaches turn 12. You got to get up onto the banking here, straighten the car out, kind of brake at the wall. There's the late on the brakes there. Tuck in. You don't want to really hit that curb too much. Now you're setting up for the exit of turn 13, because as soon as you get back on the throttle, you're on it now for a very long time. So let's see how long. Back on throttle now. How much full throttle will this be by the time we get to turn 1?
Doesn't look like he's visibly happy per se. He has the toe, but a 139.7. He, I think, may have not. No, he didn't improve at all. He gained a couple 100s at best.
Yeah, he did gain, but it wasn't enough to jump any positions there. That was about 25 seconds of full throttle time from the exit of turn 13 to turn 1. That is how much you're leaning on the power here. So you've got to get turn 13 right. That's a critical exit. And same is true here at the exit of turn 4, because you're full throttle here. Sometimes it feels like you can't be, and you certainly can't do it side by side at full throttle. Big hop and a skip over the rumbles there.
I think at some point somebody's going to become destabilized from that type of curbing, because this is exactly what I was talking about. They're not afraid to attack this part of the racetrack, because you have to go right across the curbing, almost to the point of clipping the grass, you can tell. But this right side curbing, you're basically riding it almost like a skateboard, almost just bouncing over it like a bunny hop to be able to power your way through that section to maximize the speed while also just avoiding the off track.
And the way that iRacing calculates whether your car is off track or not is the center point of the car. So if the center point of this GR86 goes to the outside of that striped curbing, or white lines and grass in that instance, then that would be an off-track consideration. And in that case, also, it's a slowdown penalty. You see there, that's 4 tires on the curb. That's fair game. So see Ken get back up to speed and maybe go for another lap or 2. No one's been able to challenge Polasek here for the front, and this makes me worried. If anybody wants to take the fight to that 45, I think you have to out-qualify him today.
You need to take away the pole from him. But we already know Polasek, if he even stays on the pole, I should say, is not afraid to fall back to second and then sort it out from there. So it's where you know Polasek is inettable when it comes to trying to make a pass on him, or rather him going to power his way. He's not afraid to save for 55 minutes, then make the burn for the race to win. For a race like today, I almost argue you need a couple people to out-qualify him. Put Polasek on the aggressive to start, force him to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, anything that you can get him offline, get him buried in traffic a little. He's a smart driver. We saw back at Road America, that was sort of the circumstance he was in. Didn't lead a whole lot of that race. Ended up second, third, fourth for most of it, but carved his way through at the time that mattered. But you have to get him out of the lead to put him in that position in the first place. Ben Blaustein bounces over the curbs at turn 12 into turn 13. past the pit entry there. We won't see pit stops tonight. It is a 60-minute race. And there's just enough time that we're going to utilize most of the fuel in this car. But we will not have to come to pit lane for tires or otherwise. Matt Adams is on a qualifying effort again, and his qualifying so far has been, I'd say, a little disappointing, down at a 140.065, 18th as it stands.
Yeah, not the greatest of runs, especially knowing the drivers he's been working with up front. Oh, he's getting extremely loose. He has cooked these tires and is already looking like he's off to try and reset things again, just outright drifting it.
Yeah, this car will do that. Again, if you get it out sideways, you can balance it on the limit very nicely, but that was probably a bit too much to go fast. Once you break these slicks loose, see him trying to clear all the clag off the tires, all the gravel you see dispatching from the Continental slick patch, but he just carried a little too much speed into turn 4 and had the car balanced on the nose, so the rear came around on him. He did gather it back up. And it's important that he gathered it up because he's running out of time. He's only going to get one more, maybe two more flyers, and he's got traffic up the road too.
Right now he's already looking like he's poking and prodding. Not enough time really to maybe even reset here and get a full push lap, because that's one of the main things drivers took advantage of early on in the session. Is you make a mistake like that, you can reset. Now he's going to have to just hope that his raw speed is good enough on this next time around to be able to bump his way ahead. It's a bit of a mind game, so to speak, but right now it's going to be a bit stressful as a lot of these drivers are in that circumstance in this choo-choo train.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers in this train now. They've only got a couple of laps left, so they're going to use every opportunity. Castro and Wetz pull out of the way. It's going to turn the lead of this pack back over to, I think that's the 7 car of Kevin Roll. They're going to stop short here of turn 1 just to let the field roll by. But they're just trying to get their laps in and not give that advantage to anybody else. But Castro wasn't able to improve. He stays at a 30. Actually, he did improve that time. It was a 39.5, but he stays P5.
Not bad for Castro, but it just shows how much the top 4 early on nailed their qualifying runs. Rick Segrini, by the way, still in 14th spot, trying to feed some draft to Townend at this point. And Townend is another one of those drivers stuck in the 140s. You can see the confidence level difference between Rick Segrini and Townend a little bit on the sim here, at least, on how much you can send it in. Townend going at least a half car length to a full car length deeper in some of these corners in the braking section.
Is he giving that time up on corner exit as well? If you drive in too deep, then you could get yourself in trouble. And Rick Segrini pulls out of the way, clears the track for Townend.
He is giving a lot of wheel hop right now. 139.7 was the best Townend was able to do. Oh, that slide's going to do it. He's going to have to regroup again. He just threw this qualified lap away.
And the next one.
With the run.
I mean, when he made that mistake in turn 13, we talked about how important it was. He's not on throttle for all those 25 seconds, and you needed to be. Townend is not going to get the time that he wants in qualifying. He'll start at near the tail of the field, unfortunately. And this is going to be, I think, most of the field's last lap around.
Yeah, there's not going to be enough time to get around unless he finds a way to squeak his way through the track itself. But now we're going to possibly see a couple drivers shuffle here. I think Polisek's time might be safe based on what we've seen here, where no one's been able to even approach that time. Polisek's running in the 6s for reference right now.
We'll see if McKenzie's on track right now, and he might be up in the green. He's got cars ahead of him. As long as they keep their pace up, he could have something for Polasek. He doesn't need to find a lot. And this is going to be really tight. They're going to get one more lap after this too, because they've got 35 seconds or so left on the board. They're going to make it to the stripes, so it'll be this one plus one more. Polasek is leading this train. McKenzie's 4th in line. Let's see what they've got. Last corner. One more lap of qualifying. Will Polasek stay at the 139.233? He does not go quicker. Neither does anybody else in tow.
McKenzie had a weird swerve before the start and finish line, though. It almost looked like he rethought about his line, didn't want to follow the draft. I think it just cost him the chance for the pole. He went to the 139.3s in this pack. That little swerve might be a difference maker. in terms of him being able to leapfrog. Is there going to be enough of a push here to work with his teammate and with Matt Best in this pack to be able to find that extra 10th he just about had last run?
Matt Best did improve, by the way. He leapfrogged Andre Castro, but now he's kind of sparring there, and it looks like they're all going to bail out. They're not going to complete this final lap. I thought McKenzie might have had enough to go maybe one more lap. Nate Stewart across the line, 1:39.735. That's a pickup, 5 spots up to 9th place.
And that's what I think they were trying to do for much of the session, get Nate Stewart out of the traffic, get him towards the front. Joshua Soto, seen him with some good speed in race conditions last time out of Barber. Not showing that in qualifying. He's right now running average race pace in those 7s and has a couple at least he could tow off of to close it.
Yeah, I think that's Ken House Seal ahead of him, and then Wan Shi Lin. Those drivers are 10th and 7th respectively, and Soto sits 12th. So if he can find a little time in this final sector, he can jump up into the top 10. With the exception of Pierre-Olivier Cloutier, the entire field is within 1 second around here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That is impressive stuff. Last few corners for these 3, and they're the last 3 on the racetrack.
Trying to get as much arc as he can as how Seal backs out of it. He gets off the racetrack. A bit of a bobble though again for Soto. We'll see if there's going to be enough improvement here. He did have a fair amount of cool down on the tires last time by. He's going to be the last one across.
And Wan Shi Lin does not pick up. Soto will not either. He's a full second off of his pace. And qualifying goes to Michael Polasek and Logan McKenzie. They'll be your front row starters for this one as qualifying concludes. What a battle up there. 5/1000ths of a second is all that separated the front two. This is going to be an interesting race. Slightly smaller field size, but I think that brings the aggression level up, Justin. So this opening lap, this opening corner, we know how challenging turn 1 can be. What are your predictions for this first lap out?
My predictions right now in a race like this, I expect to see a couple big sends, especially into turn 7 to start things off with drivers who want to be able to get that track position early, try and get themselves in that lead pack before things separate quickly, be able to get themselves to the point. But then from there, I want to be surprised to see Polasek try and just ride. Try and remain patient. Even let McKenzie lead for a little while before the later stages. Try and play big picture. The last prediction I think I could see in this race today, I think we see someone like Castro be able to power his way at least to a podium, see how things go. I'm curious how they're going to play things out of this race like this to close out this series though.
Let's have a look at our Continental Track preview one more time before we go racing tonight. 14 corners, 2.4 miles, and your passing zones, turns 1, 7, and 12. You can get it done in other places too, Justin, but those are your primary objectives. And then the trouble spots, often turn 4, because you're kind of braking at the corner of the racetrack before you turn in. That chicane is always a funnel, and you need to get single file, otherwise someone's getting knocked off course or shoved out wide.
Especially when it comes to, I've seen turn 7 become pure madness coming in on some of those sends. Turn 12 going to be a big chance, as you said, to be able to set things up to close out the lap, get a good run from 14 to the front straightaway. A lot of opportunities to sling your way forward.
The field is getting ready to go racing here tonight. One pace lap, and then it'll be 60 minutes of Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League action here in the iRacing Simulator. And race fans, do not miss the season finale for the Real World Series, which is 2 weeks' time at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, October 4th through 6th. You can watch it right here on the GT World YouTube channel and twitch.tv/SRO Motorsports. Will be myself and DJ Clark on the call for that. Very excited to head to the Brickyard here in a couple of weeks and finish out the second season of the Toyota GR Cup North America Series. Well, let's roll through our starting lineup and kick things off with the front row. We talked about Michael Polasek of the G-Force Racing 45. Already has clinched the championship and $2,500 as the winner there. But Logan McKenzie looking to pick up maybe a couple of race prizes here. To win this race, $300. He'll go for it here in second place.
Up towards the front as well, Jason Landry going to be starting at third position, just a couple 1/10 off the pole. John Lazon will start in the 4th spot, one of the independents.
In row number 3, starting 5th of the Texas Speed Sim Racing car, it's Matt Best in the 101. Andre Castro has had a pretty good season. I know he'd like to cap it off with a victory. He starts 6th in the Team Era car.
She led also in the conversation for topping of the point standings. Kevin Rold We've seen good flashes of speed from the 7. He's in row 4, outside it, 8th spot.
9th place, Nate Stewart in Dead Zone Racing. His elbows got out at Road America, almost won that race. I know he'd like to do it again, but he's got to pass 8 other cars to do it. Ken Houseel has missed a couple of rounds, but he joins us in the outside of row number 5.
Row 6 features a couple of drivers for the rear world. Jordan Rixagrini from this series. He's starting 11th, and then Joshua Soto racing a lot in this style of racing. He starts in 12th.
In 13th place, it's Cameron Martineau in the number 38. Got a little shuffled back at Barber, rebounded though for a 10th. Chris Wetz in Team Era starts 14th in the number 71.
Ben Bostein back in 15 today. Rounding out the 139.9s. Nicholas Sudik looking for some luck, any luck. He's had bad luck fall on him everywhere.
And in the 17th spot, it's Blake Townend in the simshop.com car. He had a round at Barber I think he'd like to forget, so pushing forward here from 17th, but a long way to go. Matt Adams rolls off 18th in the number 17 car.
Mauricio Lozano will start at the back of the field, then Pierre-Olivier Cloutier rounds out the entries today, those drivers in the 140s.
Michael Polasek, your champion, but he would love to add a 5th win. Winning 5 of 7 in a championship that's been as fierce as this one is an incredible accomplishment, but he hasn't done it yet. 60 minutes up on the board. McKenzie has been creeping in closer and closer. Jason Landry's right there. John Lauzon, this is as far forward I think he's ever started in that gold, white, and black number 70. There's so many drivers that would like to virtually kiss the bricks here in Indianapolis. And Justin, I said it before, you don't have to say why this place is special. It just is. 115 years of history. And even on the road course, I think this is a big win in iRacing.
You want to win here. You want to prove you're the best, especially at the Yard of Bricks. And today, we're about to see some of the best in this type of racing on iRacing. Battle it out aggressive to start.
The field rolls through turn 14. 60 minutes go up on the board. It's time to go racing from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. For the last time this season in iRacing, the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League, they head up onto the front straightaway. We're at the Brickyard, a name known across the world. Here we go. Green flag, and we're racing in Indianapolis. Michael Polasek launches away. McKenzie pulls to the left, and there's already pushing behind him as they try to get lined up on the run down to turn 1.
Polasek already trying to run away a little bit, but 2-3 wide back of the field. Not a surprise to see drivers like Castro think about it. Go back in line, though, to make sure they squeeze on in. It goes back to about a lane and a half for this part of the racetrack.
Oh, big slide for Jordan Rixagrini. He's around at turn 2. He's gathered it up. He'll get straightened back out, but lost a lot of positions there. Matt Bess, Andre Castro, they're going to be elbow to elbow here through the chicane on the opening lap. This is tough to do, but they're going to do it on the first time through.
A lot of side-by-side forming up already. Castro trying to make his way forward and fast. Those top 4 breaking away. He needs to find a way to make this move work before the switchback.
Teammates now filtered 2nd and 3rd. Landry and McKenzie. Landry led in the brakes to try to keep up with Polasek. Side-by-side still through turn 7. That's a tough corner to do it. These two will not let it go on the opening lap here. Best clinging to the left side of Andre Castro.
And there's no choice but for Castro to fight this at this point. Try and squeeze out the opponent. That seems to be the case. Lynn just taking the opportunity to jump on in here. Lynn playing the lines with Castro having momentum.
Into turn 12, does Wanshi Lin look 3 across? Thinks better of it. Castro pulls clear of Best finally after half a lap of doing door-to-door battle into 13 now. In the background, there's Cameron Martineau. Matt Adams is up a bunch of spots from his starting position of 18th place. He's now 12th.
Not a surprise to see him cut through the pack again. We've seen Adams do so several times. He was the one that was going 3-4 wide to start off the race, but Polasek looks like he's letting the field come to him. Starting up front, controlling the pace up front so far.
The line is turned for the front 4, but Matt Best and Andre Castro are not done yet. A huge lunge down the inside of the 101 spins right in front of the field. Everybody dodges him right and left. And he will back out of traffic and avoid getting clobbered, but a big slip up for the 101 car.
There was a bit of a squeeze, you could argue, from Castro. Oh my goodness, it's a bit of a hornet's nest though with Adams and company. Nate Stewart having to back out of it. Didn't like what he was seeing with the numbers game. Look at Blake Townend. He's been able to cut his way through this as Lynn's got to slow down Lawestort.
Now, that's an unfortunate slowdown for the number 30. Qualified so well and had to give up a lot of time there. And the 4, as you mentioned. So they're going to drop well out of the picture now. Getting a line astern. Look at Rick Segrini. He's right back in this fight after spinning out on the opening lap.
Didn't lose as much time as you would think. He did correct it in a way to keep it out of the field. Give him credit to that end. But right now, Rick Segrini got the elbows out and now has those involved in the slowdown right next to him. Not going to be the best of lines for the next few sectors.
As everyone trying to filter back single file now and just focus on the race ahead. The front 4 quickly kind of making their own little island. They're not done fighting back here yet, though. The 30 on the inside of Rick Segrini, and then Nate Stewart trying to recover from that slowdown, has cars double wide up the nose.
Yeah, from 8th spot all the way back into the teens as Rosano moving. There's slowdown. There's a lot of them popping up here. Zano had to let several drivers go. I think these drivers are playing a dangerous game with some of these cars, because here's the thing. We touched upon this where it's that midpoint. In iRacing, for this track with this layout, there's the special rules that the track has where it's the outer edge of the blue and white curbing. Drivers are attacking that curbing so aggressively that some of them are even crossing that full length of the curbing to be able to make these sends.
And it's so hard. You have to push so hard. I just don't know if it's worth to go that hard, because the time that you gain, you know, you have to stack that up 10, 15, 20 laps to make up for one mistake one time. That's how critical things are. No action on the incident at turn number 1. Let's go back and take a quick look. Hold that thought, because we're going to be 2 wide again, maybe 3, as Blaustein, Lynn, Rick Segrini, Stewart get bottled up again.
Stewart did it again, because he's seen in that curbing what he just talked about on the right side. He cut more than that 50% on that curb. He's got another slowdown. He's trying to serve the more slow way. So a lot of these drivers are picking up slowdowns that are, frankly, a bit unnecessary with how aggressive it can be. This pack, meanwhile, second pack, is remaining uber aggressive with drivers like Adams wanting to gain spots.
Rises down to 8th place, and the front of this battle is P6, so there is dollars on the line here in this championship. You want them side by side into 13. That was really tight between Soto and Adams. They sorted it out. Let's go back and have a look at that incident at turn 1 between Matt Best and Andre Castro, and they just get in here really deep. I think the 101 may be a little too deep and just gets into the side of the 34. I don't know that it was really fault by anybody, but Best just kind of fires it down in here and hopes that it would come out the same way.
Yeah, he did set it in deeper. You see Castro did squeeze a little bit, but it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B almost, but backing up that close. Adams, that was absolutely risky, I should say, for Best, I should say. With how he got laid out on the racetrack, it's very easy to get hit in that spot. He's lucky he didn't get hit. He missed it by a couple inches.
That would have been a race-ending issue. Here's Pierre-Olivier Cloutier in the number 63. He's up to 12th after starting dead last, so not a bad run for him. And then Chris Wetz in that 71. We've documented his issues here and there so far, trailing that orange 63. And Cameron Martineau and Kevin Rold are side by side into turn 7.
Good send by Martineau, clean, quick, efficient. And that's the thing I've noticed so far today is you want to be in the main groupings, you need to be efficient on these passes. And right now, some of these drivers have not been so efficient. The top 5 have ran away with all these drivers battling so aggressive with House Seal & Company. They are costing themselves up to a second a lap compared to Castro in this pack.
Landry and McKenzie are trying to keep their dream alive. Polasek is just inching away, thousandth by thousandth. 0.4 of a second is the differential now. And then Andre Castro, you mentioned the top 5 have broken away. He is not with that main pack, but his last lap was about equivalent to the front 5, and this time through was identical to Landry's time in second place.
That's without draft, so that's extremely impressive when it comes to Castro's raw pace on his own. Tough part is he needs them to battle to close on up. Here's the thing, no one's battling in that top 4. They're all content where they are.
Well, they're battling back here.
Yeah, they're not content in 6th. They're definitely not content here.
On board with the 38, Ken House-Seal in the 23, gonna open the door here into turn 4. But that's a tough place to gain overlap, and he knew it, so he backed out. And we'll set up for a little later But even Martineau last time by was faster than the race leader, so everyone's running times that are co-requisite with each other. They just don't have the track position to actually be battling for the top spot right now.
Well, in the case of Martineau, he had a long slingshot, and he was very willing to make the run on Halcyon. Everybody else right now, I think, is just trying to square things back away, gain some time. If you're Sudik, want to have your best run possibly in the series. Others, they're just hungry to get that top 8, as you said. Close out the series strong, get a top 8, get yourself in the pay, get yourself good positions to close out this season. And it's easier said than done with this pack because of how aggressive some people want to take it, like Adams.
And on the inside, that is Kevin Rold in the number 7. Little contact there. You see the sparks flying. Rold's going to try to cross him under here, get back on throttle sooner. And now maybe some assistance from this 57, or maybe not. Townend tries to tuck underneath him onto the front straight.
And that's how big one compromised run through that sector compromise your entire lap, because guess what? Now you have Townend able to line up, try and think about, can I get the draft down? He's got the little toe right now. He can think, if I run single file, I can wait, reset for the next lap, or I can lunge. You have to almost play with the mirror a lot here. Big lunge by Soto to get alongside him, though.
You wanted the outside lane there. If you can get overlap and keep it through turn 1, sometimes you're able to complete that pass, but it's hard math because the next few corners are all right-handers. It's all about carrying speed. This is a flat racetrack. The camber doesn't really assist you a lot when you're making your way through the infield, so it's all about how you can roll speed, get the car pointed, and get back on throttle sooner than everybody else.
I think someone like Soto, I've seen him do well in some series, going to be one of those drivers to keep an eye on. Polasek, almost leading them through like a marching band through the course. Left, turn right, go straight, turn right. Just keeping focus, laser focus. You can see laser calm as well.
You know, we've seen him emotional, but it's always after the checkered falls. He takes a few seconds to take it in, and then starts fist bumping and just celebrating and yelling and shouting. But in the car, in the moment, he is just absolutely, as you said, laser focused, eye on the prize. And he is going to have to drive perfect. It's going to be tough to pull away, even with the pace he's had this season. Landry, McKenzie, those two in particular have found so much speed in the latter half of this season.
Especially with Landry making splashes on the podium a few times. Seen some great runs from that organization. They're going to be happy regardless of how this closes. But again, Alceel, along with Kevin Martineau, have gone just into slipstream battle. Someone gets a run down the straightaway. Alceel lets him have it. Martineau does the same the next lap. They just let them swap back and forth for the draft.
Trying to make speed too. I don't know that it's working. They're not quicker than the leaders like they were a few laps ago, so they need to get the strongest locomotive on the front of this train. Matt Adams to the inside at turn 4. That was an aggressive move, but he felt like he had to do it. And from the tail of the field, he's driven up to 7th now, past the 23 of Halcyon.
Like I said, he's one of those that's been uber aggressive, sending it in areas others have not been willing to do so. In fact, he's playing an extremely defensive line because he knows that draft down into turn 7, put him up for grabs again, played it well, and my goodness, Kevin Roll just about licked the stamp and almost sent it into somebody's door.
Yeah, but he was on offense. Now he's on defense, and he's going to lose one spot, maybe two. The 57 of Townend goes by. Soto sets him up for a run here into turn 10. And he gets to the inside, and that's critical here for the 10 because shorter way around, up onto the banking, and it leads right into turn 12, which is another great passing zone.
Soto racing machine, I think you're going to start to see what I was talking about before. He is extremely confident on the brakes. Almost too hard of a send, though, into the grass that time. But he is not afraid to just lunge it in deep, an extra 2-3 car lengths in some cases, just to make it stay in the corner and be able to make some of these passes. Cloutier is making some passes himself after qualifying dead last.
Alceel and Adams are back at it. These two fought tooth and nail down Holman Boulevard last time around. I don't think they're done yet. Halceel's going to retake the position, but Adams and how aggressive he has been will likely pay off again here in this infield section. Here's Soto under fire from Rolled into turn 1.
And again, that's partly with slipstream for Kevin Rolled in that case to poke to the outside, but Soto, good defense. But back talking about these two up here. it's been where you take a run, somebody not afraid to take said run to the point. It's not so much like that up front at all, but this group, they've just been slingshot each other. Take a look at the replay though. Adams keeping himself on the aggressive on these lunges though in this part of the racetrack. Yeah,
really snuck up there. He fully established himself on the overlap before the turn, and it's just not a place that you typically try to make a pass because you have to give up so much time on the straightaway. You compromise both drivers' corners, but in times of desperation, if you want to get by, that's a great surprise move because typically the driver ahead is focused out the windshield and not looking in the mirror at that stage.
Almost like a surprise attack, but in reality, you can send it there and make it stay for a pass. It's just a matter of, as you said, not losing the time. But we're already almost a quarter way through this race, I will say. We've had already about 9-10 seconds of separation between the top 5 and 6 place on the racetrack. They have not backed off on who wants to lead this pack here today. Again, they're going to swap.
Here comes Halseal to the inside of Martineau now in the 38. Put Ken back into 6th place. And he's going to complete that pass before the corner, but he's going to stay offline. That will compromise his exit slightly. If Cameron Martineau can throttle back up and steal this back.
I think the answer is on the next time they go down the front straightaway. That front straightaway, yeah, it's trying to help each other, so to speak, trying to see if it's going to help each other is more so the phrase with the draft, because you have to take the run somewhere is kind of the mindset for drivers. You can't just let it go to the wayside because then someone like Matt Adams will take advantage and take the run away and make the move on you. So it goes quite simply to, if you've got the run, take it, make a swap draft work, and that's been the main case today. Big bobble to the grass though for the 23. Matt Adams just picked up the urgency.
Again, you saw the writing on the wall ahead of him and just decided to stick that car down the inside. There was trouble behind them, and it's Pierre-Olivier Cloutier. He looks like he might be out. Here's what happened. He was battling Jordan Rick-Segrini in the 18.
Just holding onto the right side of the racetrack. Then there's the switch back. Yeah. Almost got a bit of a squeeze down. There was a touch bit of error, but that's Cloutier's race done and dusted. He obviously not happy as he tried to race tooth and nail, and that's the risk of running side by side of that section. Sometimes contact comes in.
Yeah, it's just so tough. It's really a slalom section. It's like you're doing an autocross, right? Back, left and right, back and forth, and it's tough to get everyone sort of aligned when you're going in there side by side. I know Rick Segrini didn't mean to get into him, but there's only so much space on the racetrack. Here comes the 17 back down the inside of Ken Halseal. He's through. Cameron Martineau's dropped a handful of spots this lap. He's down to 9th place. There's a lot of shifting and shuffling in this secondary group.
Yeah, they're not afraid to be shifty here with what we've seen, but eventually something's going to give. Something's going to boil over the way they're racing some of these drivers. It's just over time, these drivers are just letting the runs go as content as they are on this racetrack. Halseal is one of the more aggressive ones I've noticed so far, though. Showing the nose, almost trying to force Adams to miss the corner. Didn't work.
One being pretty orderly that time, down into 7. Not the surprise moves we've seen that 17 of Matt Adams make, but the drive he has had today, we have to say how impressive this is. His qualifying has not really been his strong suit, but the race pace has been there. You just wonder if he could figure out, the first part of the weekend, he really could be a championship threat perhaps next season. I've seen him race in other eSports championships, and he is just such an impressive driver when it comes to placing the car, knowing when to be aggressive and maybe when to hold back.
I agree, because we've seen the speed, especially at tracks like Road America. He qualified up front, competed up front. That's been, I think, the main reason we haven't seen him up front so much is outside of that race, he's only qualified in the top 10 once. And in a round like this and a series like this, we've seen how important it is to be in the main group.
No further action on the contact between the 18 and the 63. No faults assigned there. Man, big chunk of curb taken by the 17 of Adams as Halseal crossed him over. Now Martineau and Townend are side by side. These guys won't give it up.
hey, you're in a pack. It's the final race of the season. I guess you can say, why not make it fun? Want to run in a parade for 40 laps? I think the answer is no. Everyone wants to try and go into a battle pack like it is. I was going to say Dodgems at the fair, but that doesn't make sense. We've seen it be respectful racing.
Boy.
That's a little close.
Isn't it? And Townend on the attack on Martineau. Soto on the attack at Townend, and Kevin Rolds right there. Wan Shi Lin is there. How many cars in this battle for 6th place? Oop.
Well, if you want an exact answer, about 5 or 6, but hey, and why not? Kevin Rolds, though, he's going to have to complete this move soon on Lin because they go side by side in a couple corners. They might lose the pack, and this could splinter that group to 5.
Yeah, they've got to get this sorted out pretty quickly. They don't have time to waste. Once you lose the draft here, it's pretty tricky to make it back on your own, especially if that front group is still working together. Now, just a little update on the very front group. All 4 cars are still in lockstep with each other. And you have to wonder, are Landry and McKenzie just saving tires, saving time here, Justin? Instead of going out there and battling Polasek, they're going to try to employ his strategy from Barber, which was chill out, run 2nd or 3rd, and then when the moment's right, turn things up. There was a lot of racing left to go.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, as again, they go side by side for 6th. This is going to keep happening every single time down the front straightaway.
Until it ends in tears. I think one of these times someone's going to get too sendy. The 17 and 38 were door to door for a moment. Townend opens the door for Soto. Soto's going to sneak up the inside at turn 4.
Soto wants to go. Soto doesn't want to be in 10th here. He wants to have his best showing, I think, because we've seen great runs for Soto, 4 spots gained from the points last time out. He finished in the top 10 for the first time last time out. And I think he knows he is better than just a 9th or 10th place driver. The problem is with Soto is, we've seen this at Barber, he can't get the passes done as quick as he wants to, and that seems to be where it's a 30-minute battle for one spot, when based on the speed we've seen from him, he can be up there and leading this pack if he was able to get these passes done more efficiently.
And it all goes back to qualifying, right? If you could start up front, he could employ that racecraft battling for 2nd or 3rd, but currently it's for 9th. Look at Cameron Martineau, offset pass here on it. Matt Adams into 12. That was a surprise move. Took Adams by surprise, certainly, but the 17 has the preferred line for turn 13.
Yet again, that's going to cost him momentum to be able to make a run and break up the pattern of slipstream battles for a moment at least. It's pretty clear that Martineau prefers to be the leader, 2nd car in this pack. He doesn't want to just sit there and ride behind Adams for the next 40 minutes.
There's Townend now looking on the left. And he's going to pinch the 38 over. This is what worries me. If he's going to try to shoot that gap, he thought about it and thought better of it. That was smart racing there by Townend. He's so easy to get together, and he actually has battled Matt Adams in one of those other eSports championships I mentioned earlier. Those two have raced each other before. And Martineau crosses over into turn 4. Opportunity here.
Prime opportunity if you're able to make it stick. It looks like Martineau did not. But there's Soto again. Good on exit. Finally picks a spot. Going to be borderline on the edge of the racetrack. Almost picked up an off track trying to make the move to avoid the contact.
He's still going to lose a few spots, though, because he had to sort of pinch off the momentum he was building. Wan Shi Lin likes the idea of 3 wide. Are we going to see it down here into turn 7? We do not.
I don't think turn 7 is going to be a good idea spot for 3 wide today. Just haven't seen it work out over the time with how much room you need for corner exit. But Adams leading the pack again, made the move through turn 7. And Adams just trying to settle in the pack. 14 seconds behind Polasek. They're losing about a second a lap still.
And the heat of battle, I'm not sure how much they even care at this point. They're so locked into their battle for position. I think they already feel like without a full course yellow, their opportunities to win this race might already be out the door. Now, we should mention that there are always the possibility for full course yellows in the instance of a track blockage or something of the sort. Unlikely to see it today, but we haven't seen one yet this season, but we don't have them off. There is a possibility for them. Here comes Ken Housefield to the inside of Matt Adams.
More draft, more momentum. Oh, this is a bold move. 3 wide again.
Townend really late on the brakes into turn 1. It's going to get tight. Adams tries to cross over. It's going to create that accordion effect we always see down at Indy turn 1. But Adams pulls back into 8th place, and Townend through into 6th.
Townend being extremely bold on these moves, even bolder than Adams in the early going. I think Blake's confidence is just sky high. That was a terrible run through Adams. He nearly moon launched himself across the track.
Yeah, he got really crossed up there, Justin, and he just slammed that curb and went skyward there for a moment.
Yeah, even on the radio, I was about to say, he's like, oh man, I have no idea how I saved it. There are drivers that are in shock in this pack that he held on to it without it sliding.
Yeah, and others are using it as opportunity. It bottled everybody up. Jordan Rick-Segrini, wasn't this car spun out on the opening lap? Here he is back in 11th place, looking for a top 10 if he could clear Lynn and Soto just ahead.
Yeah, I think he's just let everyone just battle each other out. Why not? Make your way to the field slowly but surely, and this is what I was expecting eventually to see in this series for Rick Segrini and the flashes we've seen on the sim side, on top of course the experience, and Rick Segrini just marching his way through. But look at this slide again. This got everyone involved, including Halsey, who he's out alongside with at this time, during, oh man, bad angle, try to take it very wide, too wide, hits the curb, launches him right across the nose of Soto, somehow holds onto it, gets a break from Soto, and keeps it on the pavement.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. He just came through here offline, and then bam, just 4 tires off the ground. And great thinking there by, you have to give Soto credit too, because it could have very easily gone wrong with that 17 coming back on the racetrack. Here's what Soto saw at the windshield.
Yeah, and at this point he's saying, oh man, hit the brake. Just had to lift off there or else you just absolutely pound the back end. And the one spot lost, I think at that time, obviously much smarter than absolutely destroying your car. 35 minutes to go.
Wow, that got really wild there for a lap or two. 35 minutes to go, almost halfway through. Townend lead, look at the 38, late on the brakes into turn 7. He wanted through, but Halsey wasn't going to give it to him now.
Yeah, the players are starting to really shuffle now that Blake Townend has set the tone for this pack and starting to build a first buffer. But Polasek up front, checking in on those leaders again. Has Landry closing it a little bit more? But not, yeah, Landry's starting to get a little more comfortable. I'm keeping an eye on the straightaway if Landry's trying to do different lift maneuvers. But I think it's just Polasek's that good in the technical corners that's making the draft mute so far.
Yeah, gaining a little bit. It's a couple hundredths on the front straightaway. These cars don't draft from a mile back. They're not going to be like, you know, maybe open top single make cars. They're going to definitely be a little slippery or a little harder to utilize the draft, but it still does matter. It's keeping Landry and McKenzie in the fight. You just have to wait to pounce on an opportunity. And these guys, they just want all the camera time today, don't they? Just back and forth, battling. Martineau, Halsey this time side by side. Wipers a wiping on the 23s. He's got busy hands.
Yeah, hit the button, why don't you? Like, yes, well, you're trying to battle. But these busy battles, again, I think we already seen it almost boil over at least once. We might see that pop up again. Just they're being uber aggressive for that edge of the top 8 here today with Adams just on that cusp again. Rick Segrini and Soto, I think, are just going to try and remain patient for now. Close the gap, get back up to the purple car.
I think Jordan would be really proud of a top 10 here in this series with how challenging of a year it's been. He's had some really great runs in the real world side with his BSI racing team, but in iRacing, we talked to Weston Workman the other night as well on the SRO pit pass, and his comments were similar. These guys are no joke, Weston said. They are the real deal because, you know, Weston would put in all this time in practice. He'd jump in and still be running 15th, 20th, 25th. They are really good at what they do. So for Rick Segrini to get this practice 2 weeks in advance of the real race, I'll bet this 18 will be running up front at Indianapolis. You have to check back here in 2 weeks' time to see how he does.
Yeah, very intrigued with how we've seen the race play out today. But you're right on in terms of that effort. People don't realize until you race against them how much effort it takes. You're talking about hundreds, sometimes thousands of laps of preparation, depending on the series, to make sure you're up to speed. And being able to compete at the top level, people take this seriously, very seriously. There's a reason a lot of drivers have gotten chances in the real world from showing what they can do in the sim world and building those connections. Several of your drivers from the real world in the series. Like we've already seen with Yanni, for example, our top drivers on the sim.
Matt Adams has got his hands full. He was on the attack, but he might have burned up his Continental rubber a little too early. Look at Rick Zagrini. He was on offense, and now he's going to get squeezed by Soto through the chicane. He has to concede. What a battle there for 10th place.
Soto, again, wants to be higher than 10th. It's been like a brick wall to try and make the pass past 10th in most of these rounds. And right now, one thing I've noticed as Rick Zagrini nearly hits him the back end, trying to send it next to Lynn, it's been where Soto has been trying to be uber aggressive on some of the corners when feeling comfortable. Rick Zagrini having to be on the aggressive in his battle because Lynn just will not quit.
Gosh, Indianapolis is a great racetrack for these cars, isn't it? It's, again, very much like a street course. We only got to see street racing once in the history of the series. It was at Nashville last year. The first race got rained out. The second race was pretty fun to watch, but this place, very flat, doesn't have a lot of camber, and Rolled goes for a slide at turn 12.
Made a bit of door contact that time with Lynn, just leaned on him. In fact, Lynn kind of guided him to the corner. Good job by Rolled to gather it back up, only lose one spot. Now, he's right back to pushing for passes on Wellstein.
It has broken this group up a little. Jordan Rick Zagrini is now a second and a half behind Soto because of that battle he had with Wan Shi Lin that didn't end as quickly as it might have needed to. Here comes Roll in the 7, back to the inside of the 41 for turn 1. Late on the brakes, see the nosedive, little contact with the wall as the 41 tries to open the corner up.
Yeah, just instinctually just started turning left because he thought Roll might try and late arc, might push up, try to give extra space. Just gets a bit of a wall grind, no harm, no foul. It looks like on the car, though, no significant damage for the 41.
Ringlining through the chicane now, back up at the front of the field. No major differences here. It still is the 45, 5, 14, and 70. A little bit more strung out than they have been, but with 30 minutes to go, I would expect Landry to start to apply some pressure, if he has pressure to apply, in the next 15 minutes or so.
I still think it's not going to be until less than 10 minutes ago when we really see the push. One thing I've noticed, and I was curious about this based on the straight line speeds, I think there might be a small amount of lift in that front pack because the straight line speed difference is about a mile, 2 hours an hour, despite the draft right now in some of these packs. Drivers in this group you see on screen have been running as high as 121 miles an hour. I think guys like Landry have just been managing their cars right now and managing the speed to prevent the runs and slowing down that momentum to the end of the straightaway till later on in this race. These drivers have not been backing off on those runs, and that's been shown with how much they swapped.
And how close are we to the real world lap times? We mentioned we were about a 10th off the track record here. We'll hold that thought because here comes the 57 back to the inside at Ken Seal. If they haven't done it enough, they're going to do it again down here at turn 1. Late turn in for the 57. And that was a nice corner entry. Can he maintain it alongside the 23?
I think so, because again, first groove back to the right side. Hausiel, all he can do is just let them go, get back in line, regroup. Here we go again with Adams, though, trying to take a wider arc. That didn't work out last time. Much better to be able to get the lineup to try and get a pass on Hausiel this time.
My point was, the best lap time that we saw in race 2, which was a similar time of day last year, was a 140.289. And we're basically right on the money. Maybe a little quicker than that with the quickest driver, McKenzie, at 139.9. 139.858 was the quickest time in race 1 last year. So the times and the equivalency of this car to the real world car are within hundredths of a second.
Just showcase the effort put in, especially on the sim side with iRacing, to be able to replicate this style of racing and this track, because this took a few years of work to get the updated scan ready to go with everything and over the years, obviously, but also it's near on point what we've seen on the road course with this scan and what we've seen for these drivers for the newly updated version of the circuit.
Unbelievable accuracy and realism here. And I wanted to also note that the 34 of Andre Castro, he was sort of in no man's land for a while, and he will continue to be. A couple of slowdown penalties for course cuts, Not intentional, of course, just pushing the limits, trying to find some speed, and he has. I mean, last time by, again, times that are equivalent to the front four, but it all came down to the start of the race, how he got that 34 car position. He could have been in that front battle, but the mistakes on the first 3 or 4 laps, Justin, they have sort of sealed his fate to run P5 today.
Yeah, this is the best he's going to do. He's going to be somewhat happy, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to really necessarily shuffle the point structure the way he wanted to. Rick Segretti having some issues on a couple corners before where we jumped in here. He made contact, I noticed, with Adams into turn 1, and that forced him to really slow up and put him off the ball when it comes to momentum. He really backed it down after having to cut turn 1, because right here, too hard on the brakes, cuts hard right, cuts the corner, and then the bleeding starts. Yeah,
it's jumped down to 18th place now and will likely have a little nose damage. You see just the marks on the front of that 18. Now, these cars are pretty resilient. I don't think it'll be a huge deal, and Matt Adams will likely have an equivalent scar on the rear bumper of his GR86, but I don't really see much at all. So he might have gotten away with it, but it certainly hurt Rick Segretti more than it hurt Adams.
Yeah, for Adams, I don't think he's gotten any damage from it. I think it snapped back, essentially, that bumper in that case. Just going to be the possible 4X that might be a concern for the incident points later on. Remember, 20 incident points the limit in the series. And a few drivers were playing dangerous to start the race with some of those incident points. Have to see in the final 10 minutes if things start to bubble on those, as Rick Segretti is back on the attack.
Yeah, down to the inside of Chris Wetz, just trying to recover after that little mix-up a couple of laps ago. Things have calmed down for a moment, if you could call it that. We've got our eyes on those front 4. I just don't think that they're going to be this orderly all the way back to the stripe, but still a lot of racing left to go. 35 down, 25 to go. But P6, this has really been the fierce one today, hasn't it?
Yeah, they have been fighting uber aggressive in this grouping all day long. They have not calmed down once. And I think they know there's no chance, obviously, for them to get a top 5, so why not push? Again, more draft, more slingshot, more power move for Townend.
I think the battles that we've seen today so closely replicate what we've seen in the real series this year. Just overs and unders and setting up for corner exit, running a little wide, dropping tires in the dirt. It really has been a precursor to the real world events and kind of given us a preview of what we're going to see there. Martineau on the brakes, chasing Townend here for P6. Can't let this 57 get too far ahead, or otherwise it'll sort of break away and hold that spot for the rest of this race.
Just continuing to try plot and plan. That's been the big part of this entire day, is plotting and planning. Surprisingly, no major bits of contact today, some for no further actions, but no one's out except for Cloutier from what was basically a spin.
Yeah, well, the night is still young, my friend. As we drop down into turn 1, there's still a possibility for things to unravel. You're right, it has just been a little bit of elbow to elbow and some pushing and shoving. Even race control just said, don't jinx it. But it's been so elbows out, but everyone's done a nice job keeping the cars moving, getting back in the fight. You know, there's dollars on the line here. If you can make your way up into the front of this group battling for 6, there is prize money available. So it's not a ton, but it's definitely there for you. So, I mean, dangle that cash in front of you. You tell me you won't go for that dive bomb.
I mean, I'll go for the dive bomb if there's an opening there, and I know it's going to be beneficial, especially for the big picture. Adams, I think, big picture, he's going to have to not only defend these types of moves that we're starting to see from Road & Company, but you also have others joining the conversation. Nate Stewart, after the slowdowns, is back up in this conversation.
He is in that number 4, and he's a driver that would like to claim some of that prize money. By the way, the prize money this season, the total purse, including the championship prizes, $10,000 worth. So these drivers have been fighting really tooth and nail all year long to lay their claim to the prizing that's available each race and in the championship standings. And Nate Stewart is up to 13th place now. Now he'll set his sights on Kevin Rold to continue this ascent.
It's going to take a little bit more from Stewart, I think. A couple more laps regrouping, but better yet, A lot more in terms of the luck again. Let's swap up front, and Martineau this time went a little bit later on the arc, made contact.
And he's through, though, up into 6th. Blake Townend is on the back foot. Oh, Martineau ran a little wide. He's going to open the door. Does Townend try to sneak back underneath? No, they set up for the backstretch. Look where Soto is, 10th, or 9th rather. He's broken that wall you were talking about, only by one spot, but he's got more on the horizon.
Yeah, went a little bit quicker than Barber, didn't it, to break through to get to the 9th spot, but I think he's got a lot more in him, hence why he's following the lines and waiting to see how the aggression's playing out up here. Wait for a door to open up, because right now it's been made clear it's been difficult for him to open the doors. Him and his spotter, Ray Mulvihill, have to be talking a fair bit about what to plan things out to be able to try and get him ahead. Like moves like this, pretty obvious. Townend able to block it off quickly.
He is busy right now, looking up in the rearview mirror, looking out the windshield. There's a lot of talk about sim racing and how applicable it is to the real world, but I think the racecraft and the way that you attack the track, the way that you're driving the race car in the attack mode here translates so closely. Look at him, check the mirror, checking again, just to see how things are going, and giving us a wave as well. He's even got time for that as we head down the front straightaway.
Pretty clear he's got the broadcast to the left if he's waving hello like that. But, I mean, he's having fun. Everyone's having fun. How long that fun lasts, well, it's going to be at least 20 minutes for some. How long for others, like Lynn, who again tries to send it aggressively up the inside. Adams again having to fend off an attack.
Adams he's gotten past more than anybody tonight and passed more than anybody tonight. He has been up and down this group what feels like 5 times. It does seem like he's losing grip on things a little bit. Little contact there, a little push and shove, hip and shoulder roll, has to cut the course.
He really didn't want to back that off. Kevin rolled, give it a slowdown from that hip check too. And that's a single line corner. Remember, you don't want to enter side by side. It's very easy to have troubles. Just hip checked because there wasn't anybody give it in. Because Rold had the hip check, takes him wide, and now he's going to have to drop spots from it.
Yeah, I think that, you see him kind of turn in on the 17 there, though. You could look and maybe look for a penalty on Adams, but Adams didn't really do anything wrong. He was driving his line, and the 7 just turned in, so I'd be surprised if there was any action. Rold's almost certainly going to feel differently, but he's got work to do. A second back from the next battle. Here's Martineau on the outside of Soto, who wants 8th place.
Soto, great job on the move. Slide on by
and slide on out.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a little bit too hard on the push. Don't lose yourself the spot after getting it so much, but now I think it's put him up for grabs for everybody else. Defensive lines. Nate Stewart, another slowdown.
That 4 car has just been getting those left and right today. We're still shuffling the order here with Soto and 38 Martineau. This is not over yet through turn 1. Tight quarters here on the right. And Hauseil's trying to run from Townend behind.
I don't think it's going to be a beneficial runaway, though. We've seen that compress today in this pack. Townend, I think, has got the ability to bridge it, close the gap, make it close once again. But up front, nothing's changed.
I wonder if these drivers running first, second, third, and fourth just think this race is real boring right now, but they have not seen what's gone on about a mile behind them at the moment. It has been fierce. They're also pretty locked in and focused on the next 18 minutes of this race. Polasek trying to claim another cash prize for winning his 5th race of the season. He's already claimed the prize for winning the championship, locked that in last time out at Barber. But Landry and McKenzie know that. They know that they can't lose the championship for him, so they might be willing to get their elbows out and throw a jab in the closing moments of this race.
I think it's down to it's a marathon, not a sprint, and that's been, I think, really evident that no one's been willing to sprint in this pack. They've been willing to run. And I think they have to know what Landry and McKenzie know. especially. That Polasek's going to be ready for any sort of moves here. He knows that that time is going to be of the essence soon. It's just a matter of when do they push the issue.
I still think there's some time on the board left for them to sort that out. Juan Shilin, Cameron Martineau side by side. Adams is going to see this hole open once again. This has been his favorite spot to drive down the inside is turn 4. Nate Stewart is back in this mix as well. No further action on the contact a couple of laps ago, and Matt Adams has to take another slide over the curbs. Did he get away with it that time? Looks like it.
Yes, he did. Again, borderline with some of these movements along the curbing. Adams still playing well and now has a teammate at least behind to work with.
And Blaustein in the 41. Look at this, up the inside of the 38 into turn 10, and he was able to do that because Martineau wasn't going to turn back to the apex since the 4 was there. Had Nate Stewart been missing, that could have been contact. That was great reading on the road by Ben to know that Martineau wasn't going to be able to fill that hole. And now he's alongside looking for this pass. Oh my goodness, he got airborne there, didn't he?
Lifted off the ground a little bit with that contact. Blaustein has not had
spin
the
behind
greatest.
him. Back live there, Matt Best looped it around.
Yeah, Matt Best not having the best of finishing orders. Just ping-ponged on Sudik after the checkup here with Blaustein. And that kind of accordion everything else. Just took part of the curbing, launched him sideways. There's the checkup effect. And as a result, Chris Wetz gets side by side with him. And there's the contact as they try to arc it in.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Matt Best. He had such an aggressive start to this race. And did he get looped around earlier, or was it a slowdown? I can't recall. I think it was a spin that he had. And he did loop it earlier. Well, my memory's not that fuzzy. But he's down 5 seconds, and that's a lonely place to be. Jordan Rick-Sigrini, by the way, has called it a day, unfortunately. Such a promising run, cut short by a little bit of ping pong, but he's out of the race.
Still keep an eye up front, though. 15 minutes to go. I think the push time is coming up in about half that time, at least.
You're right about that. The other thing to note is that we're going to have a pretty long off season. Don't know which drivers are going to return next season. So, if you've got some brownie points to use up, you might as well use them now because there is no next week. You don't need to be best friends with these guys. You'd like to be, but you've got to make some moves here in the last 15 minutes that you think might put you on the, take you off the Christmas card list. It's probably okay to do it now versus race 1 of the season.
Yeah. I mean, why not? And we've seen a lot of people burn up some of the brownie points with these battles in this pack for 6th. Soto getting himself a run lined up, and he's got some help. Ken Houseel wants them to fight.
And he's going to drive into turn 1. Townend's a little offline, too far offline. He's going to lose a spot to Lynn as well.
Apologies over the radio. He nearly hit the back end of Houseel. That's how deep he sent it. I think he just sent it wide, trying to avoid the contact. But Landry's getting ever closer here. Eventually, one of these runs, he's going to take a lunge. It's just a matter of which one.
They've been very patient up here. They haven't been on camera all that much because they've been like this effectively since the drop of the green flag 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, I'm surprised on how this is closed out in this type of race today, but hey, some stellar racing for 6th on back all throughout the race today, with everyone just wanting to finish out strong. It's a great way to end off a championship.
Landry and McKenzie for their team. What a great way to round off this. Even if they can't figure out how to dispatch Polasek in the closing moments of this race, 2nd and 3rd in the last race of the season. That's great momentum for the Muffield Motorsports cars. I'm sure they'll walk away proud of this effort.
I think so too. It's been a round of applause effort for them all day long since the drop of the green flag, and now It's going to be where can they help each other to a win. At the other side of the racetrack, though, everyone's squabbling for spots, and they're starting to get even more defensive.
This group has broken up into a couple sections, but the more they fight, the more likely it is to merge back into one. Soto is now on the point of this. Adams and Martineau are side by side for 11th place. Adams has fought up and down the order so many times, but he's looking more like his starting position than the highest point he's run at this stage, which I know is probably frustrating. Sudik on the outside of Blaustein through the chicane. Slide for the pink and blue 87, and here comes Wetz charging back through.
Wetz, he's been quietly at the back of this group all race long. Now finally he's starting to get a chance to make some moves. I think he's just trying to avoid contact, if anything, because he is backing up some of these corners where if he's side by side with somebody, let them have it and then see what happens. I think Wetz is just playing careful here.
Got a little balked there into turn 7. You heard him lock up the rear brakes potentially. Rolled underneath Blaustein through turn 10 and 11. And Wetz will take this opportunity. Trying to sneak by the 41 as well. Tight quarters here into 12, contact.
Everyone bouncing into the side of the 41. And Matt Adams, black flag, I think he's reached one of the incident limits.
Oh, that's frustrating for Matt Adams. And it likely is, as you pointed out, the incident limit that is put in place to avoid the abuse of track limits and also the abuse of car-to-car contact, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's at fault for all of it, just that he was involved. 3 wide. This is for 13th place. 14th place. This is crazy.
Yeah, Lozano Alonso's also making some of his first moves of the race. Now we see an aggressive mode, how to back up out of it. But we're looking at the estimated laps to go count, about 6 laps maybe to work with for the lead pack. Landry keeps on getting to the bumper, but not enough to be able to get alongside Polasek unless he goes deep brake.
Logan McKenzie rides in 3rd. Haven't really looked at his onboard today, but you can see all the overlays he's got. He can analyze the lap times of the cars ahead. He's really dialed in at the moment, but the battles behind continue. They will not let us focus on the lead just yet. They're pretty orderly. Back here, they are not. Townend back to 7th. Hausil slips to 8th. Cameron Martineau rolled. Blaustein, look at this fight back here outside the top 10. They're not done.
They want to get themselves to top 10 to close out. Why not? At this point, Martineau, once those again, that has been battling aggressive since the start. It's following further and further down the pylon as this is all broken down. Now he's all the way back as far as 13th with all this. A little bit of an excursion nearly there.
Now they're going to single file back out Wetz and Mauricio Lozano. They're door to door for a moment. They get it sorted back out. You mentioned about 6 laps to go, looking like that at this stage. Landry, it's a little tighter to Polasek than McKenzie is to Landry, so it could just be a 2-horse race, but the second these two get side by side, if they get side by side, McKenzie and Lausen are waiting on deck to go take a swing here. So we'll see what they've got to offer in the final 9 minutes of this race.
What they have to offer, they're going to have to show the hand too. I really doubt they're going to just finish exactly like this, because it's a race. It's not a parade. You have to try something.
I think it's very possible they finish like this. I think it's also unlikely that they will not try to finish like this. It's going to be really aggressive. I think Landry's going to leave it all on the line, but I don't think you're going to get multiple shots at it. If you get up to Polasek, you're going to get one chance. He doesn't really make a lot of mistakes. We've seen that all season long. That's why he's won so many races at the front of this field. So you've got to exploit a weakness, but once you discover it and you show him where his weakness is relative to you, he will patch that problem immediately. So you've got to be aggressive and get it done in one go.
Especially just 8 minutes to work with on the season, right? Distances like this aren't going to get the job done, though. He keeps losing a fair amount of time in Sector 3, and that's where Posek's been better. Anywhere with the technical corners, he's just been able to launch off better, exit more smoothly, more efficiently, grow the gap to make it where the draft is going to be extremely hard to close the gap.
DM applying that pressure last time by, a 140.168. Landry at a 140.265. So if Polasek has saved something now, he knows that everyone's plotting. This is the time when you plot. So if he can just turn up the wick now, then they won't even get a chance to show it.
Blaustein right now, he's still in the heart of some of the excitement of that pack. He's had a few wild moments, yes, but still has great opportunity to finish out his season strong after having some up and down moments throughout this campaign to that 41 car.
Love the graphics package on this car, glinting in the Indianapolis sun. It has looked the part all season long. And Nate Stewart and Ken Houseal, how about this late race charge from the 4? It took him a long time, but here he is back into 8th place, and he's got an opportunity to get at least one more, maybe 2.
Yeah, Houseal's not backing up. He's trying to push and just able to peel his way to the outside, force stored off the gas, be able to keep it alongside here.
Just so impressed with drivers like Nate Stewart, who obviously didn't start on the best of terms, got shuffled back, a bunch of slowdowns put him out of the mix, but he has fought his way through, ran last for much of this race, slowly but surely making his way through. Kevin Rolds off at 12, and he's got a bottle behind him, and a little contact. Martineau gets hip checked.
A lot of chatter on the radio from that contact, and that's made it 3 wide with Blaustein again hard inside. Zano has a slowdown, so he take him out of the equation. All of a sudden, Wett's getting some moves done, all while defensively, Townend blocking off Soto, all while Nate Stewart sends it on Houseal.
And all while this is going on, for 12th place on back, 11th place, Chris Wetz, Kevin Rold, Ben Blaustein, Martineau. They know there's only 5 minutes left in the season. They know that tempers are starting to run a little hot, that winning this race is out of the question, and that all they can do is make the number in the finish column a little bit smaller in the last 5 minutes of this race.
Some wild excursions to close this out, 2 by 2 for some. Martineau very lucky to be able to get himself at least single filed enough to be able to make the corner, but Nate Stewart, plenty of time to push this grouping. Everybody trying to make some lunges.
Martineau really laid on the brakes into turn 7. He's leaning on that Bosch ABS, and Wetz gets to the inside, will not let him clear. Now he does into turns 8 and 9.
All sorts of swiveling through this pack. Here comes Sudik again. And again, door opens, lunge to the door, make the send.
Flying formation here, and for the race lead, Landry to the inside of Polasek, down at turn 1. This is it. This is his chance to steal one from Polasek. He's got to get it done here, or Polasek won't give him the door again. Polasek pulls back in front, but Landry and McKenzie are on the attack.
He had to try it. He had to try and make the send. Finally took the draft at full speed. That was his best run of the day. And now, expecting our chance through turn 7, he has been getting closer here than down the front straightaway most of the day.
Here comes Landry with a big run now. He cannot afford to give up this opportunity. Cash prizes on the line. The glory of winning a national event in iRacing at Indianapolis, down to the inside at turn 7. Polasek keeps the overlap. They're still side by side through turns 8 and 9. Landry, the Muffield Motorsports 5 car, trying to wrestle it away in the closing moments here at Indianapolis. Polasek pulls through, and he's going to hang on to it for now, but it's far from over.
Landry's got good momentum, but it's still preferred corner for Polasek to try and get the send back to the right. Landry, again, he's been dialed in for this part of the race. Polasek, much better corner apex.
Now into turn 13, Landry pulling ahead. Can he clear Polasek? And he does. Jason Landry takes the lead away at Indianapolis with 2 laps to go. But Polasek is right here on the tail. McKenzie now drives up to driver's left, and here's John Lausen from out of nowhere.
Landry moving up to try and work with his teammate. Lauzon just saying, I'm going to follow whatever line's working for me. That inside line to the right side of the racetrack has more speed built up.
Game on into turn 1. Polasek's got driver's right. Landry trying to cling to it on the left. They leave each other plenty of space, fair racing room in front of these two here. McKenzie and Lauzon behind, still clinging to the hope of stealing a win.
Polasek able to clear on by. They had to settle back in for a moment. Landry has a chance to make a send again. Landry, in fact, is right on the tail of Polasek to build up this run.
And Polasek gives him the inside again. He's not defending. As we often say, the worst thing you can do by letting the guy get there is you have a great race. There's trouble behind Nate Stewart and others, but the battle for the lead's still on. We'll check with that later.
Landry just can't close the door, can't clear on by. Looks like right now he's looking for a regroup for the front straight away after all this shuffling. Only about a lap to do it here based on the time. Can Landry build up a big enough run to fully clear Polasek?
It was not a great sequence of corners for him. He dropped a couple of car lengths here. The gap is back up to 3.5 tenths of a second. Tires are hot now. It's going to be 2.4 miles when they get back to the bricks. And Michael Polasek is trying to set up for a 5th consecutive victory and add the cherry to the top of an incredible debut season in Toyota GR Cup North America eSports. Here we go. The white flag is waving. One more lap at Indianapolis. One more lap on the season.
Landry's got a good head of steam built up. Polasek going full defensive. Knows that inside. Big for the runs. Landry going to have to do it the hard way.
On the outside, though, I like this positioning here. It'll give him the advantage at turn 2 and maybe in 3. Landry pulls through. Is he clear of Polasek? Yes, he is again. He's done it once more, but this time he has to keep it. The next time to the stripe, it'll be a checkered flag.
This puts the offense right into Polasek's hands, though. Landry has a small buffer. How defensive does Landry get here with Polasek's run?
Which line do you pick? Do you go left? Do you go right? Here comes Polasek with a huge head of steam. Pulls to the inside, going to keep him tucked up against the grass. Side by side into turn 7 on the final lap. Deep on the brakes. Will they make contact? A little bit of rubbing.
Small bit of rubbing, but Polasek still going to be forced to the outside for the hard-braking 90-degree turn again. He might be able to pull this off, though. He's got better momentum for the final sector.
And he's in a great spot here. Didn't leave turn 10 all that well. Polasek got a great run on the outside. If he can clear Landry, he will pull to the right. But the 5 car keeps the door open into turn 12 here, Justin. Final few corners.
Polasek has the preferred group for the final corners, though. Can he clear? Landry might be able to force a drag race down the front straightaway. Just kept it alongside to force the drag race to the line.
Here we go. This is it. The last race of the season at Indianapolis. Who's going to get the glory? Is it the champion or is it the underdog? Jason Landry. Michael Polasek side by side to the stripe. Jason Landry steals it from Polasek. Wow.
Well done by Landry. Well done. Positioning that speed that he kept to keep it alongside for the final corner, the big difference.
That was incredible, and it's not done. Matt Best, Sudik, Wetz, and more. Cars everywhere. Everybody on the edge of grip. The last corners of the season. These drivers have laid it all out on the line. They have used up every ounce of energy they have, and they will come to the finish of the first season of Toyota GR Cup North America eSports. Wow.
That's all you can really say is wow. And a team 1-3 for Landry and McKenzie. They look ecstatic based on the carb language.
Jason Landry did it. Turn 1 on the final lap. And he's going to celebrate here at Indianapolis. Well, before we get to too much, let's go back and look at the incident that we saw with Nate Stewart and a couple of others. This was down into turn 1. It took out, I think, Cameron Martineau and Matt Adams, I think, were also involved in a separate incident, perhaps. But here's what happened with these two. Well, they just get tangled.
Try to clear himself. Just try to force Townend to lift. Townend wasn't going to be lifting to that point of the race. Adams was down in pit road already.
You're right, because he had that penalty. And then the 38, I don't know what happened to him, but they just got tangled up together. But, I mean, how about this? How do you race better than this? They left each other space. They traded positions back and forth. We saw each driver try different lines here and there. I mean, this is incredible stuff.
Yeah, this point right here, if Polasek was going to win this race, he had to clear for turn 13. Because he didn't clear, get that door slam shut, that immediately gives the advantage to Landry. Short distance around for the inside for turn 14. That difference, just enough to hold on the whole entire front straightaway.
38 1/1000ths of a second is your differential, and there is your finish. I mean, that is just unbelievable. 38 1/1000ths. I mean, how many photo finishes have we had this year, Justin? It feels like 5.
It feels like it at least 3 or 4.
That's so cool. Great battle, fair play amongst all those up at the front of the field, but I think it's, we'll take a look at the race results here before we wrap things up here this evening with Toyota GR Cup North America eSports. Session results on your screen now. Jason Landry by 38 1/1000ths steals it over Polasek, McKenzie, Lausen, and Castro. But Michael Polasek, though, as we mentioned, had already claimed the championship, so he is just fine as far as points for that. So he'll take that away, and I think that second spot in the championship with where did the 34 finish? P5. I'm not sure that Castro got enough points. We'll try to find out for you.
He tried all he could, though, but the problem was he spent too long trying to battle to get himself in the 5th position. By the time he cleared, he lost the draft, and obviously, once you lose that draft, it's near impossible to try and close up, especially with them being identical on times. Some good runs, though, for drivers like Soto to get it 6th, his best run of the season. Townend, also great speed. Stewart had all those slowdowns this race and still finished 9th.
So as far as the championship standings, man, did Jason Landry steal that? This is all unofficial, but as of now, it shows Landry 91 back from Polasek, Yanni 93. He was not present today. Jason Landry would have launched 3 spots. It's all unofficial, but that would be an incredible way to end. That just got him $1,500, that pass, is what that just did, Justin.
Well, how about that? Like I said, you push as hard as you can in a race like this. You can leapfrog Landry. As I said, needed a win, needed to put himself in positive points position. Did so over Michael Yanni today.
Well, let's talk to Logan McKenzie and see if he's available to chat. Logan McKenzie, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man, Logan, what a battle it was there at the end. P3 in that number 14 car, right behind your teammate and Michael Polasek, the champion, who was just absolutely throwing it down in the closing moments of this race. Take us through what you saw out the windshield those last few laps, because there was a moment you might have been able to sneak through there and steal that win.
Yeah, it was tough because obviously Jason and I being teammates, and he's so close. Well, he was battling Andre in the championship, so it's like, how do we get ahead of Michael in order to win? And I mean, he basically did it himself, and I just ran rear gunner, and it worked out beautifully. There were a couple times where they glued together, and I really thought they were both going to wreck it, and I was just kind of driving to victory lane, but no, they did an amazing job keeping it together, and I'm a little sad I wasn't a tiny bit closer on that last corner, so I could have had a shot, but it was a lot of fun either way.
How big is a performance like this for you and your organization? A 1-3 to close out this title fight.
Yeah, it feels like it's a great culmination of everything that all the work we've been putting in throughout the season. Jason has had a couple, unlucky moments here or there, and there are other moments where he's come so close to winning races. So it's great to finally get him that one. And I mean, I started out the season about as bad as you can. I think the stay in your lane rule on rolling starts exists because of me. So I couldn't be happier about getting to the podium at the end of the season.
Well, that was an unbelievable drive, Logan. Just super fun to watch that battle in the closing moments. Thanks for being a part of it this season, and we hope to see you back.
Yeah, thank you so much for putting this on, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Logan. Well, Michael Polasek comes home in second place tonight. It is not 5 consecutive victories, but I have to be honest, Michael, that was such a fun battle to watch. I mean, you led most of that race. Jason gets a run on you, passes you once, you get him back, he passes you again. Fair, clean racing at the front. I peeked at your camera coming to the checkers, and you had a smile on your face. $2,500 as the champion of the series. You didn't pick up the full $300 as the race winner today, but man, that had to have been a lot of fun. Take us through it all.
Yeah, definitely. That was probably one of the most fun races I've ever been in. Jason Landry's always a great person to race against. And pretty much those final 3 laps, unfortunately, I just didn't think I had the tires. I could have maybe saved the tires a little bit better for the lead. But I still think that maybe if I got a better run out of the final corner, I could have probably got him. But other than that, that was pretty much the racing you want to have in this series. Just clean, hard, respectful racing. And we gave each other plenty of room, and they was just able to get the run, use the inside of the track at the final corner, and win the drag race to the line. So he definitely earned this one. That was great racing.
Of course, last race you locked up the championship. You end up, unofficially at least, 91 points ahead in the point standings for this series. Overall, what goes to your mind in a series like this with how well you did and you setting the standard, winning more than half the races throughout the campaign?
Well, this has been a very difficult, very stressful season. Lots and lots of scenarios you have to run through in terms of where you want to be at the end of the race, how you qualify, how you run the first few laps of the race, where's the best place to overtake, defend, wherever. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into that, but I'm just glad it's worth it. I'm glad it was worth it. I was finally able to take the championship. This has been a very tough season, very strong competition from Michael Yanni, Jason Landry, Andre Castro. All of those guys are great people to race against. And to come out on top against all of them is it's a great feeling.
Well, just going back and looking at the race results this season, I can't remember off the top of my head how many photo finishes we had, but it was at least 3, and it's just been a pleasure to watch you up there battling. I know Michael Yanni couldn't be here tonight, but Jason Landry filled his shoes nicely in that run to the checkers. So, Michael, congratulations on the championship, on winning the prize, and we hope to see you back again in the future. Incredible work this season, and it's been noticed, so thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Jason Landry in the number 5. I have to imagine there's a lot of emotions running through you right now in that fierce battle. I mean, we were locked on watching 6th and 10th and 12th battle all day long because the front 4 were so orderly. We knew that someone would light the fuse, and when you did, it was just insane. Take us through that battle and that last lap pass on Michael Polasek off his 4 consecutive wins.
I pulled the Polasek. Honestly, I just studied him the last few races, and I sat behind to saving my tires. And as soon as I see Castro started going back, I knew I had to finish. I think if I was in 2nd place, he needed to be 5th, and that's kind of where he was to just leapfrog him. And then I knew that if I got the win, I could actually, because Yanni's not here, I could potentially be P2 overall with some more money. So yeah, I just sat praying, just following Michael the whole time. And then with 5 minutes to go, I felt like my tires were better. And I just decided, all right, it's time to go. I'm so lucky that Logan was behind me, my teammate, because that helped immensely. I knew that he was behind me, protecting me that way. And I'm shaking a little bit, but I just needed to go for it. And Michael is super fair. So I knew I could go for it. We just had to be very careful because I still wanted to finish 3rd overall because there was money on the line. So I really had to be careful with that potential pass. And luckily I was able to pull it off. I mean, I had to pull it off like 3 times, I think. It was hard to get by him. But yeah, again, thank you to Logan. Thank you to my team. Like, if it wasn't for him, everybody else would have jumped all over us.
Obviously, the emotion's very high with this win here today, but overall, how would you describe the challenge of this series to be able to be up front, get yourself in the conversation, because it started off slow for you. You picked it up a lot in the second half of the season, especially.
Well, it didn't even start that slow. I was in P6 at Sonoma, and then unfortunately I got pushed off the track, and then there was another driver who hit somebody, so I ended up a DNF, but I was in the top 6. And then at Sebring, I had an incident with Castro on the first lap where I spun around and I was dead last, and then I fought my way all the way back up to 12th. So the pace was there. I just needed a little bit better luck, and after Sebring, everything started coming together nicely, and I just started picking up top 5s, and then I got a couple second places the last 2 races, and then I finally got a win. So I'm super pumped with this. It was a really good series. Obviously, Michael Yanni would have outclassed me, but he missed 2 races, and I only beat him by 1 point. So I like to think that I'm maybe third best, because Michael definitely would have beat me if he had showed up.
Well, Jason, again, unofficially second best in the championship, +3 after the post-race calculation. So that pass on the last lap, that was one of the passes that earned you $1,500 in prize money on this season. So congratulations on that. What an incredible ride. And thanks for being here, putting on a show there at the front of the field, racing so clean and fair. That was the expectation, and you two just put on an excellent display of racecraft. So thanks so much for being a part of it. Congratulations, and we hope to see you back.
Thank you very much. You guys did an awesome job with this series, and I'm very proud to be qualified for it, and extra proud to finish second place. Thanks.
Proud to have you, Jason. Thanks so much. Well, Justin, an unbelievable season as we get set to kind of look ahead to the Real World Series racing, which is coming up in just a few weeks' time at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What takeaways from this season did we learn about the competition here, about the drivers, and about its correlation to the Real World Series?
I think some of the main takeaways when it comes to a series like this, the top drivers showcased why they love this style of racing. They came out from the onset, performed as expected, and even more so. Put on some phenomenal races, showcased why this style of racing from the onset of when the Toyota GRA6 reached iRacing is one of the more popular cars on the entire platform. In the end, the main takeaway as well, Michael Polasek throughout this season showcased why he's one of the best in this style of racing, with how precise, how smart, how tactical he was throughout these races and these events. And in the end, the best driver won the title, but also a lot of others raised their stock and showcased why they could be in the conversation as some of the best when it comes to these racers on the platform on the roadside.
It was an incredible season, and I think for me, getting to see the Real World Series a week after the Sim Series, it's been so incredible to watch how much these are a precursor to those, a harbinger for the things that are going to happen on the real racetrack, things that we learned going into Barber. They translated to a track that the series had never been to before, and I think that was a huge learning experience for me, for the drivers, and I think the entertainment value was incredible this season. And for those iRacers that participated, we thank them. Of course, it was a long season covering the entire length of the real world racing season, and 2 weeks from today, we're going to have the first, actually, it'll be 2 weeks from yesterday, is going to be our first race of the weekend for Toyota GR Cup North America at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Brickyard. This place is so famous. It's the racing capital of the world. And so anytime you win here, whether it's the sim or in the real world, it is one to mark on your resume. And we thank you so much for joining us here on the GT World channels. I'm Kyle Heyer along with Justin Prince. Thanks so much. Make sure you tune in to catch the real series here in 2 weeks' time with myself and DJ Clark. We can't wait to watch racing from the Brickyard.